And thank you for joining us today. It's been a few weeks since our last meeting because we were celebrating the holidays and New Year. And with that, I'm going to apologize for not being on video right now, but I am recovering from a case of COVID and I have a weepy eye. So it looks like I'm crying continuously, but I'm not. I'm actually feeling much better and I'm recovering well. I just don't look like it. So it sounds like a number of people also caught COVID. So I was not alone, as well as all sorts of different injuries and things that are happening with this crazy winter weather that we're having. So Happy New Year. I hope you are all happy, safe, and well. And if you're not, I hope you're recovering well. And know that you do have a team with Red Cross, a family of volunteers.
It was an updated
And if
email
you need support,
yesterday.
please reach out to us. If you're going through something, if you're recovering, and you need support in any way, please reach out to your Red Cross family. Let us know how we can support you. We're going to get right into it, you guys, because we have a ton to cover. First of all is a link to the video of our last meeting. If you were not able to catch it and you want to go back in time and see what we talked about, a lot of the stuff we talked about has already happened and is old news, but there's always a link to that video in the agenda. This agenda, along with the video of this meeting, is going to be emailed out to everyone tomorrow. So if you were not able to attend the meeting, you can watch the video in your leisure. If you were able to attend, you'll have access to this agenda that has links to everything we're going to talk about. And Chico, please don't be offended, but my friend, I'm going to mute you just so that you can have that conversation in the background. But if you come off and you need to come off mute to speak, just know that. Okay. There we go. We have a ton of upcoming stuff this week, you guys, that I'm going to go over really quickly, but stop me, raise your hand if you have questions at any point about any of the items. We're also going to have a survey in the agenda that you can click on to RSVP and let me know if you want more information or you would like to attend any of these events that are coming up. Just tomorrow, we have a Storey County Local Emergency Planning Committee meeting. If you are interested in attending, please actually reach out to me because Jim Rich is no longer able to attend. This is a great opportunity for any volunteers who are interested in government operations and or community engagement in the Storey County area. You don't have to live in Storey County. You can live in other areas surrounding counties. But if you're interested in supporting in the local emergency planning efforts in Storey County, this is a regular meeting that occurs that we're invited to talk about mass care. There is also one of those meetings tomorrow in Lyon County that is not listed on this agenda because I just found out about it. We are invited though, so if you would like to attend a local emergency planning committee meeting in Lyon County, let me know and I can let you know the details and you can attend. Also tomorrow, there is a Carson City Emergency Operations Plan kickoff meeting. These are going to be monthly meetings that are going to occur until the Carson City Emergency Operations Plan is completed. It's in person in Carson City at Station 51. Reach out to me if you would like to attend. Jim Rich or myself may be attending. But you are welcome. And again, this is a great opportunity for any volunteers interested in government operations and or community engagement in Carson City. In the afternoon tomorrow, the same thing is happening in Pershing County at 1 p.m. just noticed this date is wrong. So if you feel like making a little drive out to Lovelock with Jim Rich, he'll be attending that meeting. It's about a little over an hour drive, and they're talking about local emergency planning in Pershing County. So a lot happening tomorrow and actually just in the next upcoming month. Another thing that is not tomorrow, but I had the wrong date initially, but it's coming up on January 20th, which is a Saturday. We have a Sheltering Bootcamp. Anyone who is a new disaster action team, or no, sorry, this actually is not correct. I'm getting rid of that. We have a boot camp coming up, but it's not sheltering. On Thursday, on January 11th at 10 a.m., we have our weekly Northern Nevada Red Cross team meeting. That happens at our Reno chapter office, or you can attend online. It's hosted by our executive director, Tiandra Rushing, and it includes all lines of service. So disaster cycle services is there, but also service to the armed forces, service to the armed forces, our communications team, people from our business operations team, volunteer services, sometimes committee people from our committees are there and talk about the different committee activities that are happening, but it's all Northern Nevada chapter related. So if you are interested in attending, please do so, either in person or using that link. Does anyone have any questions so far about the opportunities I've talked about? Also on Thursday at 2 p.m., we have our regional direct services and response management team office hours. And this is basically if you have any questions that are related to mass care or direct services in our region, you can call in between 2 and 3 p.m. and just ask those questions. Jocelyn or some other person will be on the line who can answer those questions for you. If you have questions about the shelter strike team or our feeding plans or how we approach things from a region as far as direct services, care for people, you can join in those office hours. And this month, they're January 11th from 2 to 3 p.m. And the link is here for you to join. On Friday, our national, the NHQ sponsored transportation, which is part of our logistics team, they're having a workshop series. And the first one is trucks. And anyone and everyone who is interested in learning about supporting logistics, specifically how trucks are managed during a disaster response, can join in this. And this isn't for people who want to drive trucks. This is for people who want to manage trucks as a transportation team member. Renting trucks, sourcing trucks, obtaining trucks, and arranging like where those trucks are stored. That's what this one's going to be about. So if that is interesting to you, please check it out. Whether you're part of the logistics team or not, it might be something fun for you to learn about or to check out for a future opportunity. I've taken all the transportation training. I haven't deployed in transportation, but Barb Kramer, who is a longtime volunteer in our chapter, she's a transportation manager, and she could probably answer any and all questions you have about what it looks like to deploy and support transportation during a disaster response. So that series is for you guys. If you're interested, reach out to me or Barb or the folks that are shown further down in this agenda with any questions. Also on the 12th, we have our regional preparedness office hours. This is an open time each week. It's hosted by our regional preparedness lead, Ashley Sheehy. Some of you guys know her from our weekly preparedness meetings that we have just before this meeting. But you're welcome to stop by and ask her any questions about our preparedness programs, how our preparedness teams are supported. If you're curious about joining as a presenter or joining as a support person on any of our preparedness teams, you can do that. And she's there from 2 to 3 p.m. for you just to drop in and ask any questions you might have about preparedness. That could be about our home fire campaign, where we install smoke detectors to anyone who requests them. It could be about our new wildfire education preparedness program. It could be about our youth preparedness programs, Prepared with Pedro, or Pillowcase Project, or any of our community preparedness education programs, like Be Red Cross Ready, or Ready Rating, or Hands Only CPR. So that's an opportunity for you guys to reach out outside of the normal weekly preparedness meeting that we have every Tuesday at 3 p.m. that you can join and talk about what's really happening locally in Northern Nevada and where we have presentations scheduled, what our local needs are, and those types of things. On Monday at 6 p.m., we have our Northern Nevada Disaster Action Team monthly meeting. It happens the third Monday of each month at 6 p.m. Jim Rich will be sending out a reminder and a link for anyone who would like to join virtually. It will also be in person at our Reno chapter office. So please attend if you are a DAT member or a DAT team responder, or if you're interested in supporting our DAT team. On Tuesday, I already mentioned it, but at 3 p.m. just before this meeting, we have our weekly preparedness work group meeting. And we also have this very same meeting. It's going to be virtual only again next week. Our in-person meeting has been rescheduled to January the 23rd. It is still going to be at Barry's house in Minden, but with the unexpected, I wasn't sure when this new storm was going to come in, and I did not want people driving home in nasty weather. So we decided better to postpone it than to get people on the roads in a winter storm. So please join us in person on the 23rd. Until then, we're going to have a virtual meeting next week. Other upcoming events and opportunities that are next week and beyond, things that you should save the date for in case you would like to participate in. I'm not going to read through each of them because we'll go through each at our next meeting, but please review them on the agenda and let me know if you would like to participate in any of them. One to note is that we're going to be doing partner disaster psychological first aid training in Carson City. I'm going to be giving that training. If you would like to support, co-train, or just be there to observe, let me know. I'd love to have you there with me. Also is our Northern Nevada chapter board meeting on the 17th. So we talked a little bit about it last week. We had some questions about our board. If you would like to attend that meeting, oh, I forgot to drop the link in. I'll do that before I send this agenda out tomorrow. But that link will be available. I think it may also be in person at the Reno office, but I'll confirm that before I put it in the agenda. Everything else except for our volunteer services New Year's party that they're hosting on the 18th from 11:30 to 1 at the Reno chapter office. I'm going to let you guys mark on your calendars and read through at your leisure, but please join us at that New Year's party on the 18th. It is a potluck. There is a link here for you to register. And there is an around the world theme. So we want to taste your favorite flavor from another part of the world or from the United States, if that's where your fave is from. But bring your favorite food to share with the team and let's celebrate New Year's together. And thank you to Volunteer Services for hosting that. So I'll just slowly scroll through the other items. You guys can look through them. If there's any that you see that you're curious about, please stop me and we'll talk about it. Otherwise, we're going to talk about them in more detail at our next meeting because we have some time. But you can see there's a lot coming up. There's a lot of opportunities for you to engage with or without training. All the way through to February 9th, we have stuff on the calendar. So please check that out. And again, each week we'll talk about the things that are coming up. But if I talk about everything each week, we'll run out of meeting time before we know it. Does anyone have any questions before I move on about any of those upcoming events? Okay. Some important information to share. We finished out December, and for the month, we had a total of 10 responses, which was significantly up from, I think, the 5 in total that we had for the month of November. We responded in 5 counties: Washoe, Carson City, Humboldt, Storey, and Mineral. We opened up 11 cases. We gave out $5,300 and we supported 21 people. Those 10 responses were completed by 13 responders. Thank you to Mike Algier, Chris Butson, Heidi Johnson, Jim Rich, Mindy Sue, Sharie Reisinger, Matt Mulder, Betsy Morse, Julie Street, Barb Seeley, Anish Kadam, Lisa Peisel, and Karen Rogers. Thank you guys all so much for responding and supporting those who needed it throughout the month of December, when we definitely saw an uptick in responses. Even more is the rate so far in January. Being that it's only the 9th of January, we've already had 4 responses this month. 3 of those were in Silver Springs in Lyon County, which we don't have any responders out there. So we're very grateful to those responders who took the extra time and effort required to respond out there in Silver Springs. You guys might ask why. Well, there's a lot of folks who live in non-traditional housing in Lyon County in the Silver Springs area, or live in manufactured homes that may not have as great of insulation. But there's a lot of times with these super cold temperatures, people are using any and all types of heating systems they can just to get their place warm enough. And with that, we see an increase in fires. So I don't know the cause, the reason for all these fires. That's all speculation, but we do tend to see a lot more fires in the winter for those reasons. So 4 responses so far. 4 cases have been opened. We've given out $2,975, supporting 18 people. And this is not right. This is completed by more than 2 responders. We have had it completed by 6 responders. So big shout out to Alex Mayorato, who has responded to 3 of those 4 calls already this year. Mike Algier, who's been on 2. Lou, who's been on 2. Mark Birch and Robin Stone. Thank you guys so much for responding, especially over New Year's and in the nasty weather. I really appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions about our responses so far this month or our responses last month? Okay. As always, we're looking for folks to sign up for shifts. If you're a DAT responder in the Reno Washoe area, if you're available, there's 6-hour blocks that you can go into RC Respond and sign up for any time that you might be available to be called out for a DAT call, because they're probably going to be on the rise, and we're going to have more calls probably through March at least is my guess. If you guys ever want to see an up-to-date list of what we're responding to, where we've responded, who's responded, you can use this link to look at all of our fiscal year 2024 responses. I've shown this to you guys before, and I know this print is really small, but basically it goes over the date of the call, where the call was, has it mapped out, and who all responded, as well as whether there was a case opened, how much money, and how many people we supported. So if you're ever curious in your county, or you're talking to someone and they're curious about how Red Cross has supported or responded in any of these areas, you can share that information with them. Anyone have any questions on that? Okay, I'm not going to go over it, but I've included links for the hydrology report from NOAA. So far, it's been a dry water year, but our reservoirs and our river basins are still healthy and fuller than normal, which is great for our water. It doesn't leave us too much wiggle room if we end up getting back-to-back atmospheric rivers or storms that create a lot of runoff. So that's, of course, what we're all watching for, especially after last winter. But so far, things are looking good. Woohoo! This time last year, we were already dealing with massive power outages, flood potential, and warming centers that were opening up. So this year is already looking a lot brighter and easier than last year. I've also included the regional weather briefing from NOAA for Sierra and Western Nevada. As I've talked about, we have storms coming in, supposed to arrive about 4 a.m. And we're going to get about a foot in the Sierra, and we'll see how much we get down in the valleys. But just as I'm talking, I'm getting weather alerts. That's what you hear on my phone in the background. So conditions have been changing, and the forecast has been changing a bit, but we could see quite a bit of snow, you guys. So be careful on the roads. Don't go out unless you need to, all of that normal winter weather advice. But if you want to see the specific and full report, you can click on that link. Does anyone have any questions about the weather, how we watch the weather, how we talk about the weather with our partners when we're looking at any hazards that might impact us? Okay, quiet group today. An update on our home fire campaign. So for the calendar year of 2023, not the fiscal year, but the calendar year, so January through December of 2023, our home fire campaign installed smoke detectors in 116 residences, supporting 238 residents, and they installed 417 smoke alarms in those 116 homes. So gigantic shout out and thanks to our home fire campaign team members that are out there every week, every Wednesday and Friday. Kirk Yates, Linda Newman, and Del Curiazzi, along with their support teams, like I said, are out there throughout the year on a weekly basis, responding to those requests from people who call in and request smoke detectors. And those include the bed shaker or strobe light smoke alarms for those who have hearing challenges. So anyone who would like to request a smoke detector in our chapter can call this number and request a smoke detector, and our team will come out and install one. We are trying to grow that team. So if you're interested in being part of our home fire campaign and you're interested in supporting maybe some Saturday or weekend opportunities to go out and do some installations, please let me know. We're going to start having a monthly home fire campaign meeting that I'm going to be sending an invite out to probably later this week. so we can start planning more home fire campaign events, especially for those volunteers who want to support but may not be available on Wednesdays and Fridays to go out when our existing team members go out. Does anyone have any questions about our home fire campaign, what they're about, what they do, or if you'd like to participate? Okay. There is a new system being utilized by our chapter and region and possibly the organization to reserve rooms. Not a ton of us reserve rooms, but some of us do. So it's important that you know that you do not go to the place in Volunteer Connection that you used to go. You actually go to this link, and there's a PowerPoint here. I am not going to go through it step by step because so few of us reserve rooms, but it's pretty simple process. If you need to reserve a room and you have challenges with this process, or you can't access things the way that you should be able to, please reach out to Cheryl Morgan for assistance. I've put her phone number and her email address here, and she's the one who can help get you the right access or walk you through the process so you're able to reserve one of our rooms. Typically, the rooms that we reserve here in Northern Nevada are our training room. And that's probably the one that's most important if you plan on using to reserve as soon as possible, because it is also utilized by our training services team who have been teaching a ton of first aid and CPR classes. So sometimes it's tricky to reserve that room. And then the other room is our technology room, which is there in the Reno office near the restrooms, and has the big screen TV and 5 chairs where you can have a nice social meeting with a small group. So those are typically the 2 rooms in Reno that you can reserve utilizing this new system. The old system is no longer being utilized, so do not go there in Volunteer Connection. Does anyone have any questions about our room reservations or those changes? Okay. Something that we can all do to help support our communications team, awareness about our chapter, awareness about our preparedness programs, and that we exist in general, is to follow and repost on our social media feeds. So I've included the links to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and I guess we need to call this X now, but those feeds. So if you guys are not already following them and you do participate in social media, please get on there and follow us so you can keep up to date on what our communications team is posting, what our public service messages look like. We typically put out public service announcements around this time about our home fire campaign and being home fire aware. So please do that. If you guys have any questions or challenges or anything about what's allowable to post or not post, please reach out to our communications team or reach out to me so I can connect you with them, and you can get the lowdown. Any questions about that? Okay, we're cruising right through, but we've already consumed 30 minutes. So I told you guys we have a lot to go over. A little bit less to talk about in this section, which is things that happened since our last meeting. And that's because we had the holidays, there wasn't a ton happening. But one thing that happens on a monthly basis is our region orientation for new volunteers. Our next one is on February 9th. We just had one on January 4th. But if you're a new volunteer and you have not participated in this orientation yet, please join on February 9th or one of the future opportunities to do so. There's good information about just the general overview of how things function in Red Cross in our Utah, Nevada region. who you can connect with for different things, and just a really good welcome to the region orientation. So if you haven't yet, please attend one of those. It might even be fun for a volunteer who's been around for a while but didn't attend one when they first joined. I don't know how long they've been doing them, but I think they're relatively new within the last year. So feel like joining in the fun. I did include the details above for the meeting that's coming up on February 9th. So it's in the upcoming events, the link to that meeting, if you look forward to and would like to join that one. We also, on January 4th, had our regional disaster action team meeting. I was not in attendance because I was out on PTO. Did anyone on the call attend that would like to share anything that was talked about? Okay. Well, our regional DAT meeting typically covers what our team is doing at a regional level. And that usually covers changes that may occur in RC Respond or things that may look different in RC Care, not typically related to our Northern Nevada responses or different DAT calls that may occur, but more policy changes of how things are happening or training that's available at the regional level. So be on the lookout. That occurs monthly as well. I don't have the date for the next one, but I'll be sure to share that out with you when I do. On the 5th, which is the first Friday of every month, we were invited to, but we did not have anyone attend this year, this month, the Washoe County Emergency Manager Breakfast. If you are interested in attending, the next one is going to be the first Friday in February, which happens to be the 2nd of February. If you would like to attend, please let me know. Jim Rich and I usually go, and it's an opportunity for us to get together on a monthly basis with all of the emergency managers, the fire chiefs, police representatives, folks from the colleges, all there at one meeting to talk about disaster response and how we're going to come together should something occur in the Reno Sparks area. Recently, we've had the emergency manager from the Air Force Base out in the Navy base, sorry, out in Fallon join us. So all sorts of different emergency managers come together, and we have breakfast once a month and just talk about issues. So great for those interested, again, in government operations or community engagement. So if you want to join us, you're more than welcome. We also had, just last night, our regional quarterly disaster cycle services meeting. And that is a little bit like this meeting in that we talk about all of the different activities that have occurred since the last meeting, but on a regional basis. It's hosted by our regional disaster officer, Matt Stevens. It also gives leaders from our division, which is SWARM, the Southwestern Rocky Mountain Division, their leadership opportunities to report out. Jalea Thompson, who is our Division Disaster State Relations Director for Nevada, she talked a little bit about our efforts that are down at the border right now, because she also has been job director for that disaster relief operation. And she was very grateful for a number of volunteers, including some from Northern Nevada, who've been able to go down and support those disaster relief operations at the border. So we hear from people like that at our regional quarterly disaster cycle services meetings. There was also shout outs to volunteers. So there were a few people mentioned from Northern Nevada. Sharie Reisinger was one of them because of her amazing efforts supporting our wildfire preparedness education program. There was a shout out to Alex Mayorado because he's already responded 3 times this month to DAC calls and not necessarily close to his home. There was a shout out for Steve Kenzer, who's also part of our Northern Nevada team, but supports our region in auditing all of our client assistance cards, those CACs, and the mission cards that our volunteers use when they deploy. So those regional disaster cycle services meetings are an opportunity for all those things to happen. I did not receive the invitation and that early enough this time to invite you all to it at our last meeting. So I will make sure everyone has that invitation going forward, but you all should have received an invitation from the region, I hope. If for some reason you feel like you're not receiving invitations to things that you should be, that I've mentioned on this call, please reach out to me so I can make sure that everything is set up correctly for you in Volunteer Connection and you are getting all the notifications that you're supposed to. Most people feel like they get more emails than they need. So I certainly don't want to do anything that will make you get more than you need, but I do want to make sure you guys are getting all the information that you need access to. Does anyone have any questions about those quarterly disaster cycle services meetings or why they're held? Okay. Earlier today, I attended a Quad County Public Healthcare Coalition meeting. This is where all the healthcare partners that support mass care during a disaster get together and we talk about planning. And we talk about what is happening in the world of healthcare. Most of the conversation today was around the increased rates in influenza, COVID, and the other one that I'm drawing a blank on, that's 3 initials. But a lot of people are getting sick right now. Yes, say it again. RSV. RSV. Yes, thank you. So a lot of people are getting sick right now, dealing with those challenges. Thankfully, capacity levels are still good in all of the medical treatment centers and urgent care clinics, so no one voiced any immediate concern about being able to support the healthcare needs in their communities, but it was about being aware of everything. People talked about the different equipment and supplies and resources they have available should another county fall short. So it's an opportunity for them all to get together and talk about those things, as well as upcoming plans for training and all different opportunities. If you are a disaster health services worker or a disaster mental health worker and you live or want to support the Quad County area, and when I say the Quad Counties, I'm talking about Lyon County, Carson City, Storey County. I know Churchill County, I believe, is part of the Quad Counties, may or may not be. But Douglas County, thank you. I knew I was forgetting one. What else am I forgetting?
Mineral.
Is Mineral part of it as well?
I believe so.
So all of those counties make up the Quad County. I want to say it's like 5 counties, even though we call it Quad County. So I think you're right. Another county that's part of that conversation is Alpine County from California, because should something occur in Alpine County, California, most of them are going to seek services in Nevada. So they were also part of that conversation. So if you were interested in attending those coalition meetings with me, please do so. You're more than welcome. And I would love to have someone with the health services and mental health services perspective as part of that team. We also have similar meetings with our health partners in Washoe County and in the Central Nevada Health District, which includes Eureka, County, may include White Pine County. That is actually the one I think that Churchill County is part of. Lander County, Pershing County, and several other counties, Humboldt County. So if you're interested in supporting those teams, please let me know and I'll get you invited to these meetings. Most of them are virtual. They do have, at least for the Quad County, one in-person meeting each quarter. So again, an opportunity for you guys to understand how our health partners throughout the community come together to plan for needs. Any questions on that? Okay. And then Tuesday, before this meeting, we have our weekly preparedness work group meeting. We ran right up to the last minute, which is why I did not join this meeting until 3:59 today. We had a lot to cover. It had also been a few weeks since we had our last meeting, and we talked a lot about some of our volunteer needs. We really need help with coordinating some of our preparedness events. That basically includes connecting with our community partners who would like a presentation, with those in Red Cross who can give those presentations, and then identifying whatever resources are needed to make those presentations happen. And we also talked a bit about how we can focus more of our youth presentations and our other presentations in those areas we have identified as our due communities, which is the areas surrounding Fallon and including Fallon and the North Valleys area in Washoe County. So anything from Hungry Valley to Stead to Lemon Valley, Sun Valley, any of those areas, we're really trying to do more focused outreach to, because we've identified them as having more vulnerabilities based on their population should a disaster impact them. So we want to do what we can to empower them to be as prepared as possible. Does anyone have any questions about our preparedness activities? Okay. With that, if you know of any events that you would like us to participate in, do outreach at, or that you would just like to add to our calendar and or share it at this meeting, please reach out to Jean Held and me with this information, the who, what, when, where, all of those details, so we can be more active in our communities and we can be more engaged with one another in each other's activities and support each other. Anyone have any questions about that? And that's something I bring up at each meeting. Okay. This is the part of the meeting where I talk about different team members that are needed in our chapter to support some of our efforts or ideas that our volunteers have had to do outreach and to support our communities better. So I've mentioned a little bit earlier at this meeting when I was talking about the local emergency planning committee meetings that we're invited to in every area we represent in all of the different counties. Sometimes, depending on the size of the county and what's happening in the counties, they have meetings monthly. Sometimes they're quarterly. But we're looking for government operations support, people who are interested in going to those meetings and participating within their county or area or their neighboring county or areas, and just stay in communication about upcoming events that Red Cross is participating in within their county or areas, different disaster action team or other DRO responses that have occurred in their county or area where Red Cross has been able to provide support. And then Red Cross disaster response planning efforts in their county and area. So here's the different shelters that Red Cross has identified. Can we have a conversation about that? Can you help coordinate a meeting or a future appointment with them at one of these locations or a partner location that we could support. So in general, just looking for government operations support. We have a wonderful leader who a lot of you know already, named Jim Rich, who works with our government operations team. He is also support to our division disaster state relations director, so has close ties with our partners at the state level and most of our counties. So if you're interested in joining that team and supporting your local county or area in those planning efforts, please let Jim and or me know, because we're not able to attend all the meetings, especially like tomorrow when there's 3 of them that are scheduled for the same date and time. So please, if you're interested, have a background in government operations, in emergency response, you're a perfect fit and may enjoy the opportunity. Any questions about what our government operations teams do or anything about government operations at all?
Sharie, it's Mark
Yes.
Birch. I sent you an email just so you know, kind of meant to catch it about the main meeting tomorrow for Lion. So just want to make sure I pointed that out and we can talk about that offline.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. That one kind of caught me blindsided. I didn't receive the invitation or information about it. So I'm looking forward to checking that out, Mark. Thank you. We are also looking for pet partner support. And this is not an official Red Cross position or ties to an official Red Cross position at this point. But I want to say a huge thank you for mentioning a wonderful idea. Jean Held, Barbara Day, and Elaine Hudson were having a conversation that originated through health services. But they were talking about a need they identified. When they deploy on a disaster to support a disaster relief operation, they have pets at home. And they were like, wouldn't it be great if we had a business partner, a relationship with a partner who'd be willing to give us discounts or offer, boarding services or pet sitting services to our volunteers who deploy outside of Northern Nevada to support disaster relief. And I thought, well, that would be awesome, but it's also an awesome opportunity to have a conversation with them about ways they can support pet sheltering needs of those who are impacted by local disasters, like the clients we support on our disaster action team responses, or even during larger disaster responses, like when we have to open a shelter and we have a lot of pets to take care of and no place to put them. So in general, we're looking for volunteers, and especially someone who's interested in leading the charge of supporting volunteers to have conversations with our pet partners. And what that lead might do is create a guide, a conversation starter guide, a form or a questionnaire to complete as volunteers are talking to potential pet partners, and then a document where we can track the different information and the pet partners we've talked to. So it's a brand new idea and just getting kicked off. So the initial need, like I said, is a volunteer who wants to lead the charge in our pet partnering. And then later, some more volunteers to support that lead in those efforts. And we'd really love to start our focus in our DO communities, the North Valleys in Washoe County and Fallon and the surrounding communities. So I know a ton of you out there have pets and are pet lovers. If this is something that you think you could dig into, it would be a tremendous help. As you can see, to our volunteers who deploy, to our local clients who are impacted by disaster, and then if something big should happen. So it really is a lot of opportunity to have a lot of conversation. And then when we identify those partners, it's an opportunity for us as volunteers and members of Red Cross to shop at those businesses. If we know they're supporting us, we can support them. So it's a great two-way thing. If you're interested in getting out there and doing that, please let me know. And we'll get this started.
Sharie?
Yes.
So as you were talking about the pet partners, I was thinking, since the person is deploying and they're leaving their animals at home, wouldn't it be like, and I just brainstormed this, a better idea to have some sort of like volunteer form already in place for the Red Cross that we can fill out saying, you know, that they're a pet sitter and that they're willing to pet sit animals in these particular counties, and they can go to, or if that person wants them to go to the house, they can go to the house, or they can even bring the animal to their house, and or we can look for businesses.
Yeah, and that's the whole idea, Marisa, is I'm looking for that volunteer who kind of wants to take that lead in creating those tools. So creating that form that could be used by a group of volunteers who want to go out and start having those conversations and sharing with those partners. So that's exactly it.
Sharie?
Yep.
One of the difficulties, and this came up when we were looking at hotels that might take pets, is what's the liability if something bad happens to the pet, or if in the case of the hotels, in the hotel. Not all pets are well trained, and so you get a Red Cross recommended hotel, and the pet tears up the hotel room. Is the Red Cross going to be liable for that? And also, if you do it with the volunteer as suggested, what's going to happen if something happens with a pet while the other volunteer is off deploying?
So and these are all the conversations that need to happen. Ultimately, Red Cross is not going to be booking a room for anyone. So Red Cross it cannot be liable, right? We can just be the person who's facilitating a conversation, but we really don't have any signing power to actually make those commitments, Chico, to answer your question. So I probably am not going to have a list of people that volunteers can reach out to as pet sitters. We could have a list that people could sign up for and they could vet themselves, but these are kind of all the conversations we need to have. Because Red Cross, ultimately, we can't make Red Cross liable to any suit.
Right.
Right. So even, for the hotels, it's a good example. We can find hotels that are willing to maybe give our clients discounts, or who are willing to donate rooms, but they're donating the room to that person, not to the Red Cross. If they're offering a discount, they're offering a discount to that individual, and they're using their client assistance card to rent that room. So it does get a little bit tricky. And that's why I think it's a little bit easier to stick with businesses when we have these conversations. So it might be easier to go to licensed boarding facilities and say, hey, would you offer a discount? Or would you be willing to, board our pets for us? Little bit trickier when people are signing up to go into people's actual homes if they don't have that business in existence, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Sharie, that makes a lot of sense. And I'll try to come up with a letter to send to the different boarding houses, asking them if they would like to be partnership with us and see what happens.
Yeah, and it never hurts to ask and start that conversation. And if they have those concerns, I would say probably not a good idea for them to take on that challenge. But maybe they can help with supplies. Maybe they can help with other different aspects of pet care. Maybe they can, especially like during disasters, maybe they can even volunteer some staff to come help with pet care. In ways that wouldn't impact their facility directly. So I think there's lots of different ways that partners can help, but having those conversations ahead of time so we don't get in muddy waters is a lot better before than during or after a disaster.
Very true.
But I love the brainstorming, and what I love most is that you guys were thinking about a need, which initially was, hey, we want to deploy, but we don't want to leave our pets. And so it just gets the gears turning in conversations in all sorts of ways that our partners can help. It might be helping volunteers, it might be helping clients, it might be helping both. But that's the way people know about how we try and support people who've been impacted by a disaster in our community, even when we don't have disasters happening here. So huge kudos to you guys for having that conversation and getting the gears going. And I would love for you to work on that form, Jean. And I think it can only help our efforts and in any areas that we make contacts with. So thank you guys so much. Deployment opportunities. I had a friend call me today and say, hey, what's happening with that tornado in Florida? Are they asking for responders? So far, I have not heard anything about responders being needed to support the tornado or any of the current storms that are happening. Outside of them looking for a financial services analyst in New Jersey, the only other opportunity that was available for deployment was recovery care supervisors still in Maui supporting the shelter resident transition team. There was a note that said if you're not a supervisor but you are an experienced service associate, you're welcome. So if you're available and would like to support the recovery efforts in Hawaii that are still going on, please let me know and we'll get you deployed. I'll also let you guys know if a lot of other opportunities come available in my follow-up email tomorrow. But so far, nothing has shown up. We've requested board support for a few different items. One other thing, and I'm not going to go through the full list of the other things we've already talked about, but one of them that I'm going to bring up this week is how can we get support for connecting with pet partners? So do our board members have pet partners in their networks, their sphere of influence that they could connect us with so we can start having some of those conversations about potential support that they could offer? I'm not going to go into great detail about that. Some of questions that were asked at our last meeting. What is a DO community and is DO an acronym for something? I found out DO is not an acronym for anything, and that's what I thought, but I was not sure. They told me to think of DO community as like the Nike logo, just do it. We're just getting in there and doing it in those communities. So that's why we're calling them DO communities. And ours, as I've mentioned a couple times, are Fallon and the surrounding areas, along with the North Valley areas in Washoe County. You guys want to know who our board members are. So I've included a link in the agenda that will take you to a list of our board members and who they are, so you can check that out. So that will be in the agenda tomorrow. Also, when are our board meetings? The next one is on January 17th, and there's a link above to join, or I'm going to add it to join that meeting. And I'll try and get when the next one is, as far as what is their rhythm. Is it the third Wednesday of every month, or what does that look like? As far as what is standby deployment, I created a document that you guys can check out at your leisure of what a standby assignment record looks like. So one of our volunteers was on standby, and I just took a screenshot of his assignment record so you guys could see what it actually looks like, what the expectations are. We are running out of time, or we're out of time, so I'm going to go through our quick reminders. Please remember to record your hours, and please remember to update your availability if you would like to deploy to support a disaster relief operation. So when those positions open up, we know to reach out to you. As I mentioned at the start, our next in-person meeting has been rescheduled to January 23rd. It is in Minden at Barry's house. Thank you very much, Barry. We will be having snacks and beverages, but it is on January 23rd at 4 p.m. at Barry's house. Thank you all for attending. Does anyone have any questions before we break a minute late? Okay, well, everyone have a wonderful week. Thank you again for attending. Watch for the video and agenda tomorrow. And as always, reach out to me if you have any questions about what we have upcoming or going on in Northern Nevada for disaster cycle services. And Mark Birch, I'm excited to check out your email about Lyon County, and I'll reply if needed. Thanks, you guys all. Have a wonderful night. Marisa, you have your hand up. What's up, lady? Or was that a goodbye? Maybe it was a high five goodbye. Okay, see you all. Take care.